Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be my September wrap-up part 2. Today I'm a fairy. I was inspired to make this look by some jewelry that my sister gifted me because these earrings specifically, and also this necklace, really reminded me of Barbie Fairytopia. I'm not sure about the flower crown, but I kind of like it. It kind of overwhelms the ears. So first of all, I'm very excited to tell you that I have finished Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. It was a very slow read. It took me a long time. It is a little bit over 400 pages. It was a little slow. I don't mind books that are slow paced when I enjoy the sort of filler that doesn't move the plot forward. But in this case, I didn't really enjoy the filler. It was a bit repetitive, I would say, in trying to get its themes across. I think it could have been pared down by about 100 pages for the amount of plot that was there, and the filler wasn't very entertaining, or like, I really like sappy filler that's all about exploring the character's emotions and backstory, but we didn't really get to really delving deep into the characters until the last 100 pages. Up until then it was a little bit boring. However, I really enjoyed several of the characters, both the main characters, but also there were 3 teenage side characters that I really enjoyed, especially Changwei, who is our MMC's best friend. So this story is about a nine-tailed fox, or Gumiho. It's set in Korea, in Seoul. Our Gumiho main character is 18 years old, and she keeps having trouble in school because she ends up showing off her super strength to some extent because people keep bullying her, and so she's been moved around from city to city. And her mother is a full Gumiho. How Gumiho reproduce without making only more half Gumiho, I don't know, because there are only women Gumihos. That isn't really addressed, but she's ancient, but her kid is only 18 years old and is half human. So Myung meets a boy, saves him from a dokebi, I think is what it's called, who is a monster who's attacking him. And at that time, her fox speed comes out of her, which is kind of like her soul or her energy source, something that she uses to process and hold the energy, or the G, that she sucks out of humans in order to live. Now she's been on a kick where she only feeds off of humans who she knows have committed horrendous crimes, so she's trying to continue living without killing innocents. When her fox speed comes out, she knows this is not good, and that she's now vulnerable to attack, and so she tries to find a way to get back in. And while she's trying to figure this out, she is going to the same school as our male main character, who is Ji-hoon, and they start very slowly to make friends. She is grumpy to his sunshine, and I did enjoy that. It just was a bit repetitive and took a bit too long. The stakes were kind of high in that at various times Myung's or Ji-hoon's lives were at risk, but they both acted so slowly to do anything about it that it didn't feel urgent. It felt like they were kind of like stressing about it internally, but not actually doing anything about it for a lot of the book. So in the end, I gave it 3.5 stars. I kind of liked where it ended. I don't really feel the need to read the second book, but if the author starts another series or standalone, I would read more by this author. Then we have a bunch of ebooks and an audiobook. The audiobook was Looking for Smoke by K.A. Cobell. This one I saw on Naomi's book bingo, that instead of like a lot of book bingos being prompts that you can fill with any, in this case it's to promote Indigenous literature, with any Indigenous lit that fits a kind of generic prompt, these are all, each bingo square is a specific book. So this specific book was on there, and I hadn't heard of a lot of these books before, so since this was one of very few books on this list that my library had, I checked it out as an audiobook, and this one is focused on missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people. It is about 4 perspective characters present around the time of a girl's murder, an Indigenous girl's murder. It happens at a powwow, and everyone wonders if it's connected to a disappearance of a teenage girl that this girl knew that happened 3 months before. So we have Eli, Brody, Lauren, and Mara, I think. Lauren was the sister of the first girl who disappeared and the best friend of this girl who was killed. Mara is someone who has been kind of excluded from the community at school because because she was new in town, had been raised more in white society than most of the kids on the reservation, and so she has mixed feelings about trying to get involved with Lauren, who is trying to investigate and find out who took away her best friend and her sister, because Lauren was one of the people who was unkind to her. So it's a story of amateur sleuths who are trying to solve this mystery because they are personally involved, and also because they fit the demographic of the people who have been hurt so far and are somewhat afraid for their own lives. I think this would be classified as a thriller because because of that imminent threat that the killer is going to come after the investigators, and I did find it scary in the kind of way you expect a thriller to be. I think it was really well written. There were some things about it that I personally didn't like, but I don't think that like took away from the quality of it. And there's one very picky little thing that I talked about in my Goodreads review in the hidden spoiler section, so if you really want to know about it, you can head on over there. I'll link it below. It will tell you who the murderer is, so maybe wait until you've read the book. But yeah, I thought it was really well done, so I gave it 4 stars. Let's go back to The Midwinter Witch by Molly Knox Ostertag. This one falls in the series. It is the final one of this series of The Witch Boy that I read last month. I read the first 2 books and really enjoyed them. They're graphic novels, and this one helps us learn more about the sort of 3 to 4 main characters who were established in the second book, and I really liked it. Yeah, we learn about some mysteries that were unsolved as of the last book, and we continue to explore how it is for our main character to want to be and to successfully be a witch when he is a boy, and the people in his family generally have held that boys are only allowed to be shapeshifters and only girls are allowed to be witches. And I really liked that exploration and thought it was really great, so 5 stars. We have 2 romances. Bonds of the Wolf by Therese Sinclair. This is following on in a series that I read a lot of last year, I think, of shifters who are either bears, big cats like cougars, or wolves, and they are of Welsh origin, but they live in the US, and specifically in the North Cascades and around Mount Rainier are the ones that are focused on in these books. I love a book set in Washington State, especially that really focuses on the local geography like these do, and how beautiful the Cascades are. I love the Cascades. These are polyamorous. Most shapeshifters who are men are born in litters, so they'll either be twins or triplets. When the boys from the litter find a mate, they share that mate. So most of the women end up with 2 to 3 mates slash husbands. I'm not terribly into that. I don't really like siblings being involved in threesomes. It's not really my vibe. But a lot of them are about hurt people helping each other overcome their past pains by being really sweet and caring about each other, so I really love that aspect of it, and I do like shapeshifters. This one is number 7, and I haven't read like 5 and 6, I've read like 1 through 4. So I've missed a couple, but I don't mind that. Spoilers don't bother me anyway. What I really like about this one, which is 500 pages, in contrast to Wicked Fox, there's also a lot of filler in this one, but I enjoyed the filler. It was very much delving into the emotional lives of our characters and showing how they had been hurt in the past and how they were repairing those emotional difficulties and growing new bonds, which is how I like it, so I gave it 4.5 stars. Then This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, I absolutely loved. I've heard a lot of people rave about this one, and it did not disappoint. I had heard specifically that there were autistic characters, and so that particularly piqued my interest, and I headed in. I did not read the first book in this series, which is a set of companions about, I think, 3 friends finding romance, but I will probably go and pick it up now since I like this one so much. Kennedy Ryan talks about at the beginning of the book in a note that she is the mother of at least one autistic kid, and that's why she wrote these books where the hero has 2 autistic children, and I just think she did an amazing job. She talked to autistic parents and autistic people about how to do this representation, and all the stuff that she wrote was just so in line with what a large part of the autistic community likes our representation to look like and the way that we're talked about. It was like accurate information as far as I could tell. There were a fair amount of short, maybe half a page to a page info dumps about these kids and how their parents took care of them. And I just thought those were excellently done. One child has lower support needs and one has higher support needs, and how that was addressed and looked at I really loved. It also addressed briefly how especially Black autistic boys are in a lot of danger from the police, and what the parents did to an extent to mitigate that in their upscale town. It also talks about in the book how a lot of autistic people get it from their parents, and how the hero might also be autistic, and shares a fair number of his son's traits. On the romance side, I really loved it. It is about at the beginning of the book, we see the hero getting divorced. It was a very amicable divorce, and all about taking care of the kids and making sure that they are not traumatized by it. And then we see our heroine finding out that her husband is a piece of trash fairly soon, getting the divorce, and then the romance can begin. But there's also a 9-month time jump between her divorce and where we pick up again with the romance kind of starting. So I liked that. I liked that there was time given in between, and a lot of that time is also taken for the heroine to rebuild her self-esteem and also build a business, because she was a homemaker and her husband really devalued her work as a homemaker. She always knew it was valuable, but she does feel really badly for having trusted the wrong person, and so she has really great friends who the other romances in the series are going to be about, so I'm excited for those. But she also has sisters who are great support, and she is also Afro-Latinx, so her parents were from, or at least one of her parents was from Puerto Rico. I really enjoyed these books, and I'm really glad I finally picked it up. 5 stars. Lastly, we have A Game for Swallows, To Die, To Leave, To Return by Zaina Abereshed. As you may know, Israel has recently expanded its bombings to Lebanon. It has been attacking Lebanon off and on for quite a while, but recently it massively expanded how much it was attacking Lebanon. And so as a way to build solidarity with Lebanese people, there is a effort out to read more books by Lebanese authors. So this is one of those. This is set during the Lebanese Civil War, which was a very complicated civil war. I will try to find a recommendation of a book that explains it well, according to Sim Kern, who is also the person I got this recommendation from. This is a graphic novel, and it is about, it's autobiographical, so it's a nonfiction, and it's about when the author was a child. She lived in Beirut, and in her apartment building, the only safe room kind of in the whole building when shelling was happening was her family's foyer. So that's where they slept, everything. And when shelling would start, their neighbors would all come down to their floor or up to their floor because the second floor foyer was the most secure place. So during the day they would live separately and then come together, usually in the evenings, because that's usually when I believe the shelling would start. So on this day, her parents had gone away to visit her grandmother. They thought that they would be safely back before anything started happening, but they weren't. One by one, the neighbors come down to join the children, and they all start talking, and backstories given for each set of characters. They all sort of comfort each other while it's going on and try to keep things light and fluffy for the children. The author has a brother, so there's 2 children. And yeah, the characterization of the various neighbors was really beautiful, and how they had a community together. It also talked about what each of them had lost in the Civil War. Some of them had plans for staying, some had plans for leaving. And in one case, there had been a neighbor who used to visit all the time, but he had died. It was just really beautiful. Really interesting illustration style. I haven't seen one like it. It was very evocative. I hear my parents rustling around making dinner. They probably need my assistance. But yeah, it's just excellent, and I highly encourage you to check out some Lebanese books. I will see if I can leave Sim's recommendation video down below, or I might just make you a list so that it's really easy. And thank you so much for watching. 5 stars to that book, and I'll see you in the next video. If you'd like to comment something, tell me how your September went, and you can leave a pink emoji. Bye!